Hi there. In this video I am going to work through some passages and questions in the practice reading comprehension section of a TOEFL ITP preparation course prepared by Longman here. You can see at the top of the screen there's the name of the book. And so depending on who's taking the test, you probably want to read through the questions first, and you'll see some basic question types which are covered in these test preparation courses available, as you see, on zlib.org. Though don't tell where you got it, where you got that info. Nudge, nudge. So the basic question types are going to be like main ideas, what was included, what wasn't included, what can you infer, and then they'll reference several different lines and ask you what words mean. So let's just quickly see if I can even answer questions just by looking at the questions first and then skimming up. The main idea, maybe not the best one to answer without reading first. Passage indicates Harvard is, again, probably not the best, but look at these line 7. So the pronoun they in line 7. Let's go up to line 7. 5, 6, 7, same educational opportunities. All right, so go back to the beginning of the sentence. Wow, that's a long sentence. It's a very long sentence. This oldest of American universities was founded in 1636, just 16 years after Pilgrims landed in Florida. Included in the Puritan emigrants to the Massachusetts colony during this period were more than 100 graduates of England's most prestigious Oxford and Cambridge universities. And these university graduates in the New World were determined that their sons would have the same educational opportunities that they themselves had. So they refers to the 100 graduates. University graduates. They themselves, they were determined that their sons would have the same educational opportunity that they themselves had. Note it doesn't say that their children, because at that time women were barred from university life. The pounds in line 8. Because of this support in the colony for an institution of higher learning, the General Court of Massachusetts appropriated 400 pounds. That's 400 pounds for a college, and that's going to be dollars or units of money, sorry. English cousin in line 10. This land was in an area called Newtown, which was later renamed Cambridge after its English cousin. That's going to be the university or the town. All right. And looking for more lines, the word fledgling in line 14 can be replaced by which of the following? Well, we already know, if you know the word fledgling, you should be able to answer that already. When a young minister named John Harvard, who came from his neighboring town of Charlestown, died of tuberculosis in 1638, he willed half of his estate, 1,700 pounds, to the fledgling college, new and just starting and maybe having some trouble. The word somewhat in line 20 can be replaced by, so Henry Dunster was appointed first president of Harvard, and should be noted that in addition to serving as president, he was also the entire faculty with an entering freshman class of 4 students. Although the staff did expand somewhat, it expanded a little bit. Somewhat means more or less. Somewhat, a little bit, more or less. Back and forth is front and back. To and fro, again, is to and, these are side by side, not related to the word somewhat. More or less would be a synonym. Where in the passage did it indicate how much money Minister Harvard was really responsible for giving to the university? That was the 1,700 pounds. Mr. Harvard died. He left his whole estate of 1,700 pounds. So we're in 15, 14, 13. Line 13, and so we can choose lines 12 to 15 there. And so we've already answered most of them and not really read the whole passage. All right, so let's go back and read. Harvard University today, recognized as part of the top echelon of world universities, came from very inauspicious and humble beginnings. The oldest American university is founded in 1636, just 16 years after the Pilgrims landed. Included in the Puritan emigrants were more than 100 graduates of Oxford and Cambridge. They came to the New World, determined that their sons would have the same educational opportunities, supported the colony for an institution of higher learning. The General Court of Massachusetts appropriated some money for the college in October 1636, and early the following year, 1637, on a parcel of land for the school. This land was in Newtown, which was later named Cambridge after the English cousin Cambridge, and it's the site of the present-day university. When a young minister meaning a priest, John Harvard, came from the neighboring town, Charlestown, died of tuberculosis, he gave 1,700 pounds to the new college, in spite of the fact that only half of the bequest was actually paid. So 850 only was paid. The General Court named the college after the minister in appreciation for what he had done. The amount of the bequest may not have been large, particularly by today's standards, but it was more than the General Court had found it necessary to appropriate in order to open the college. So the court gave 400 pounds. Minister Harvard wanted to give 1,700, but actually by the time the escrow or the probate was over, 850 went to the college. Henry Dunster was appointed the first president, 1640. This is 3 years after its opening. It should be noted that he was the president. He was also the entire faculty. There were 4 students. The staff expanded for the first century of its existence. The entire teaching staff consisted of the president and 3 or 4 tutors. So more or less meaning the tutors, were they really faculty? Well, sort of. The main idea is that Harvard is one of the most prestigious universities. Not exactly. What is today a great university started out small, for sure. John Harvard was key to the development of a great university, yes, but is that the main idea? That was a detail. That's paragraph 3. Harvard University developed under the auspices of the court. Again, that's a detail, and so B is the main idea. The passage indicates Harvard is one of the oldest universities, yes. The oldest university in the world, no. The oldest universities in America, absolutely. It indicates that. One of the oldest, no, it's the oldest. It indicates this, D. Well, that's inconvenient. The oldest university in America, right at the top. University, where does it say that? 16 years after the Pilgrims. This oldest of the American universities right there. Okay. It can be inferred from the passage that the Puritans who traveled to the Massachusetts colony were rather well educated. Yeah, I think so, because included in the Puritan immigrants to the Massachusetts colony were more than 100 graduates of these very prestigious universities. Rather rich, not exactly. Rather supportive of the English government, probably not. Rather undemocratic, doesn't say anything about that. Rather rich is incorrect. Rather well educated, because 100 of them, and given that there wouldn't have been more than a couple hundred Puritan immigrants coming at the beginning, we can infer that they were rather well educated. Number 7, which of the following is not mentioned about John Harvard? He died of tuberculosis. He came from the neighboring town, Charlestown. He was buried, did not say anything about that. The passage implies Harry Dunster was an ineffective president. No. Someone really served as president. No. He spent much of his time managing the faculty. Maybe. Position of president of Harvard is not merely, yeah, that's absolutely, because he was both the entire faculty and the president, so it was not merely an administrative position. And let's just revisit this one, 12 to 15. So yeah, in line 13 it said he bequeathed 1,700 pounds, but in lines 14 to 15 it said that half the money made it there. All right, next passage. Binary star, we're going to look at, that's the topic here. Let's go through and look for these line items first. The word distinguished in line 2, well, we should already know that anyway. It can be distinguished. Distinguished has more than one meaning, and so it can be distinguished. That's passive voice. It can be differentiated. You can tell the difference between something, can be discerned. The black hole in line 9, the empty space, it says right there, the empty space is known as a black hole, a star without such strong gravitational force, with such strong gravitational force that no light is able to get through it. And an empty space around which nothing orbits, nope. A star with a close to zero gravity, nope. A star whose gravitational force blocks the passage of light, that looks correct. An empty space so far away that no light can reach it, no. The word get in line 9 could best be replaced by that no light is able to get through, no light is able to pass through. Word proportion in line 5 is closest in meaning to, should be ratio. Line 5. From the orbital pattern of a binary, the mass of its stars can be determined. The gravitational pull of a star is in direct proportion to its mass. Direct, not contrast, direct ratio. Proportion means ratio. Any others? Intense in line 12 should mean strong or brilliant. Pros, the concept, scientific interest has been intense. Scientific interest in the theory has been intense. It has been strong. And so now let's go back and read quickly and see if we can answer the other questions. A binary star is actually a pair of stars that are held together by the force of gravity. Although occasionally the individual stars that compose a binary star can be distinguished, they generally appear as one star. The gravitational pull between the individual stars of a binary star causes one to orbit around the other. From the orbital pattern of a binary, the mass of its stars can be determined. The gravitational pull of a star is in direct proportion to its mass, and the strength of the gravitational force of one star on another determines the orbital pattern of the binary. Scientists have discovered stars that seem to orbit around empty space. It has been suggested that such a star and the empty space really composed a binary star. The empty space is known as a black hole. A star with such strong gravitational force that no light is able to get through. Although the existence of black holes has not been proven, the theory of their existence has been around for about 2 centuries, since the French mathematician Pierre-Simon de Laplace first proposed the concept at the end of the 18th century. Scientific interest in this theory have been intense through the last few decades. However, currently the theory is unproven. Black holes can only be potentially identified based on the interactions of objects around them, as happens when a black hole is part of the binary star. They, of course, cannot be seen because of the inability of any light to escape the star's powerful gravity. A binary star could best be described as stars that have been forced apart. Nope, they're being pulled together, or they orbit around one another. A star with strong, it's not a star, it's 2 stars pulled together by gravity. Just like it says here, they're held together by the force of gravity in the topic sentence. According to the passage, what happens as a result of the gravitational force between the stars? One star circles the other, yes. The mass of the binary increases. No. A black hole is destroyed, no. Gravitational force decreases. I'm going to say this one, then let's go back up and check. The gravitational force between the star, they generally appear as one star. The gravitational force causes one to orbit around the other. Orbit, it means circle, so one circles around the other. 17, which is not supported by the passage. A black hole can have a star orbiting around it. A binary star can be composed of a black hole and a visible star. I don't think that's it. All empty space contains black holes. That's not, definitely not. The gravitational pull of a black hole is strong. That's definitely there. A black hole can have a star. The empty, let's see. Scientists have discovered stars that seem to orbit around an empty space. Okay, so a black hole can have a star orbiting around it. That's correct. It has been suggested that such a star and the empty space really composed a binary star. The empty space is known as the black hole. A star with such gravitational force that no light is able to get through it. A binary star, yeah, okay, so that's correct. Although the existence, and then we go into the existence, all right, so it really composed a binary star, where the black hole is one star. But all empty space contains black holes, that's just flatly false, that's obvious. Number 19, which of the following is implied by the passage about the theory of black holes? No reputable scientists believe it. No. It has only recently been hypothesized. No. At least some scientists find it credible. Yeah. Scientists are hoping to see a black hole in order to prove the theory. Yes. So let's go back up. Second half of this paragraph. Although the existence of black holes has not been proven, the theory of their existence has been around for 2 centuries since this guy proposed the concept. Scientific interest in the theory, not a hypothesis, has been intense in the last few decades. It's currently unproven. They can be identified based on the interactions with others around them. Well, I suppose we don't see any. Is it implied that scientists are hoping to see a black hole in order to prove the theory? I guess so. At least some scientists find it credible. I think that's fairly obvious. It's a theory, it's not a hypothesis, it is a theory. And so it's not been proven. Cannot be seen because of the inability to. They, of course, cannot be seen. All right. And so we can't choose D because if they can't be seen, then scientists are not hoping to see one. And 21, this passage would probably be assigned to reading on astrophysics. Next, Clara Barton. Let's go in a different direction this time. Let's read it first and then try to answer the questions one by one. Clara Barton is well known for her endeavors as a nurse on the battlefield during the Civil War and for her role as in founding the American Red Cross. She's perhaps not as well known, however, for her role in establishing a bureau for tracing missing soldiers following the Civil War. At the close of the Civil War, the United States did not have in place any agency responsible for accounting for what had happened to the innumerable men who had served in the military during the war, and many families had no idea as to the fate of their loved ones. Families were forced to agonize endlessly over where their loved ones were, what kind of shape they were in, whether or not they would return, and what had happened to them. Clara Barton developed a system for using print media to publish the names of soldiers known to have been wounded or killed during various battles of the Civil War. She was prepared to publish names that she herself had gathered on the battlefield, as well as information gathered from others. She made numerous unsuccessful attempts to interest various government officials in her plan. However, it was not until Henry Wilson, a senator from the state of Massachusetts, took up her cause and presented her plan to President Lincoln that her plan was implemented. With Lincoln's assistance, Clara Barton was set up in a small government office with funding for a few clerks and the authority to examine military records. She and her clerks gathered and compiled information from military records and battlefield witnesses and published it in newspapers and magazines. Clara Barton operated this missing persons bureau for 4 years from the end of the war in 1865 until 1869. During this period, she and her staff put out more than 100,000 printed lists, answered more than 60,000 letters, and accounted for more than 20,000 missing soldiers. The purpose of this passage is to praise her work as a battlefield nurse. No. To outline her role in establishing the Red Cross. No. To malign her role of the U.S. government in it. No. Her lesser-known accomplishments. So at the very beginning, it says she's in the Red Cross, or she helped make the Red Cross. She was a nurse, but the majority, 1, 2, 3 paragraphs, and the larger paragraphs are about her lesser-known accomplishments. And that is even the thesis statement here. She's not as well known for this other thing. Which of the following is not mentioned? So we've got a main idea question, and then which is not mentioned, and then what is mentioned over here. So what is present, what can we infer, what's the main idea, and what do these words in these lines mean are our main question types. Which of the following is not mentioned as one of Claire Barton's accomplishments? Yeah, she was a Civil War nurse. She was integral in the establishment of the Red Cross. Yes. She was elected as a government official. No. She was appointed or given help by Lincoln, and she worked in a government office for a little while, but she was not elected. She continued to work for the good soldiers. Yeah, that's correct. That was the main idea of the passage. The word close in line 4, at the close of the Civil War, this is a word that some will think of as close, meaning near, but at the close, it's a noun, it's not a preposition. At the close, in line 4, this would be the end. It's a noun, shut is a verb. 25, what's stated in the passage about the issue of missing persons following the Civil War? The U.S. government was not officially prepared to deal with the issue. Kind of. President Lincoln did not issue, no. The U.S. government agency was responsible for the issue. The citizens were unaware of this issue. Well, let's see. The United States did not have in place any agency responsible for accounting to what happened to these men. So it wasn't prepared to deal with it. It didn't have any agency responsible. And then on to our inference. So what direct facts are present? What's the main idea? What was not present? What does this word mean? What direct fact is present? And now what can we infer? It can be inferred from the passage that the budget of Barton's missing persons was, let's have a look, the budget with funding for a few clerks and the authority to examine military records. A few clerks is limited in scope. Lavish means large. From private sources, no, it's a government office. Number 27, the pronoun it in line 17. She and her clerks gathered and compiled information from military records and battlefield witnesses and published it. That's the information. Which of the following did Claire Barton and her staff accomplish? They searched for military records. Yeah, sure. They responded to 100,000 letters? No. 60,000. They printed a list with 100,000 names? No. They printed 100,000 lists. They talked to 20,000? Nope, they found 20,000, or they accounted for 20,000. So they searched military records, that's correct. They responded to 60,000 letters. These are just number facts in the last sentence there, that's pretty easy. Where in the passage does the author indicate the duration of the existence of Claire Barton's missing persons agency? The duration of the existence, that's going to be in the last one here, 1865 to 1869. 1819. Which paragraph describes Claire Barton's efforts to establish a missing persons bureau? Not paragraph 1, because that's the introduction. Her efforts to establish the bureau. This was the need for the bureau. And then this is her establishing the bureau. She made numerous attempts. And then finally, the senator from Massachusetts took up her cause and it was implemented. So paragraph 3. All right, so you can see the main question types. In each of these passages, there are 3 or more references to a specific line and a word, or asking where do you find such information, again referencing specific lines or a paragraph in this case. And then there's always a main idea, there's always an inference, and then what information is directly taken from the text, what information is not present in the text. And depending on the test taker, you might want to read first, you might want to go directly to the line questions, you might want to skim, you might want to read more carefully. That really depends on the individual test taker. But these are fairly simple. The timing is the main issue, that you have to work through these fairly quickly, and so skimming and certainly moving over words that you might not be able to pronounce are important aspects of this part of the test. Okay, I'll continue on with more TOEFL preparation in future videos. Thank you.